What if we told you that some of Hollywood's biggest stars, those we think we know so well, actually have African heritage? It's true. While these celebrities might not always fit the typical mold, their roots run deeper than most people realize. From legendary actors to rising stars, you'll be surprised by how many of your favorite celebrities are actually black. In this video, we're revealing 20 celebrities whose African heritage will shock you, and you won't believe who made the list. Number 1. Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel is known as one of Hollywood's toughest action stars, with his deep voice and no-nonsense persona. But behind that tough exterior is a much more complicated story. Growing up in New York City, Vin was immersed in diversity. His biological father left when he was a baby, and his mom raised him with the help of his African-American stepfather. This unique family dynamic, along with the vibrant multicultural environment of New York, helped shape Vin's view of the world. For years, Vin kept his personal life private, leading many to wonder about his racial background. He often said, "I identify with everything," keeping things vague. It wasn't until later that fans learned the truth. Vin Diesel has African-American heritage, something he hadn't openly discussed before. Vin didn't see himself as fitting into any one racial box. While his stepfather's African-American background was a big part of his life, he rarely talked about it. It wasn't until a 2001 interview that Vin opened up about his mixed heritage. His family tree includes African-American, Native American, and other cultural roots. A revelation that surprised many who had always thought of him as having a Mediterranean look. What's even more surprising is that Vin didn't fully learn about his background until later in life. Though he was raised in the African-American community, he didn't explore his father's side of the family until much later. Despite his strong ties to his African-American roots, Vin has kept much of this part of his story under wraps, letting the mystery about his identity linger. Number 2. Rashida Jones. Rashida Jones was raised in a household where both parents enjoyed successful careers, yet their backgrounds couldn't have been more different. This dynamic gave Rashida a unique perspective on the world, one where she witnessed firsthand how race shaped experiences in ways she hadn't expected, even within her own family. From a young age, she became acutely aware of how people treated her based on her appearance. She shared stories of how some were shocked to learn that she was the daughter of music legend Quincy Jones because she didn't look black enough. These encounters sparked deep reflections in Rashida about race, identity, and belonging. She doesn't fit neatly into the racial categories society often uses to define people. Rashida identifies as biracial, proudly embracing both her African-American and European roots. But it hasn't always been smooth sailing. She's spoken openly about how, as a biracial person, you can sometimes feel like you don't truly belong to either the black or white communities. People often pressure her to choose one side over the other, a dilemma she's had to navigate throughout her life. Yet despite these struggles, Rashida has become a powerful voice on the topic, using her platform to shed light on issues of race and identity, writing essays, and participating in interviews that spark important conversations. Now, before we dive deeper, I have to tell you, Troyan Bellisario's story is much more layered than you can imagine. But what happens when you uncover a heritage that most would never guess? Stick around to discover the unexpected truth hiding in plain sight. Number 3. Wentworth Miller. Wentworth Miller rose to fame with his role in Prison Break, where he portrayed a character known for his intellect and determination. But there's so much more to Miller than meets the eye. What many people don't realize is that Miller is biracial. His father has African-American, Jamaican, and British roots, and growing up, he faced unique challenges because of his mixed heritage. Struggling with how society saw him, Miller often found himself caught between racial categories, leaving people uncertain of how to label him. In his own words, he was sometimes viewed as not black enough or not white enough. In interviews, Wentworth has openly discussed the complexities of being biracial. He admitted that it wasn't always easy to find a place where he truly belonged, as he didn't fully fit in with either side of his heritage. However, this experience of navigating his identity has played a key role in shaping both his career and his personal growth. Miller has chosen to speak out about race and identity, offering a voice to others who feel disconnected from any single racial group. Although his biracial identity hasn't always been at the forefront of his acting roles, it's clear that Wentworth Miller takes great pride in who he is and where he comes from. Rather than trying to conform to one mold, he has embraced every part of his heritage. His background, he says, makes him unique, something that adds depth and richness to both his life and his craft. Number 4. Jennifer Beals. Born to an African-American father and an Irish-American mother, Jennifer Beals faced a life of contrasts from the start. Tragically, her father passed away when she was young, leaving her to be raised primarily by her mother in Chicago. Despite her biracial heritage, many people are often shocked to learn of her African-American roots. In interviews, Jennifer has shared how growing up with this mixed background made her feel as though she lived in two worlds at times. Yet, she's always embraced both sides of her identity with pride. Her upbringing in a multicultural family has given her a perspective on life that's uniquely her own. Throughout her career, Jennifer has frequently been cast in roles where her ethnicity isn't explicitly defined or is left intentionally ambiguous. She has said that she's perfectly okay with this, believing that her identity is personal, something that doesn't need to be fully explained or categorized by others. This fluidity in navigating between cultures has not only deepened her connection with people from all walks of life, but it's also enriched her work, influencing the way she approaches each role. Number 5. Pete Wentz. To many, Pete Wentz is simply the bassist of a famous rock band, but what most don't know is that his heritage is rich and multifaceted. His mother, Dale Wentz, hails from Afro-Jamaican roots, a part of his identity that has deeply shaped his worldview in ways that often go unnoticed. Although Pete has been candid about his race in interviews, his appearance sometimes catches people off guard, as it doesn't immediately reflect his African heritage. Growing up in Chicago, Pete was immersed in a blend of cultural influences, with his Jamaican heritage playing a key role in shaping who he is. Even though his background often flew under the radar in the public eye, Pete has shared stories of how this cultural influence helped form his identity. Being part of a multicultural family gave him a unique lens through which he views the world, offering a depth of perspective that goes far beyond what you'd expect from a rock star. Number 6. Maya Rudolph. Maya Rudolph hails from a family rich in musical heritage, but her story stretches far beyond entertainment. Her mother was a renowned African-American singer, while her father's Ashkenazi Jewish roots bring a unique cultural fusion to her identity. Growing up in a household where two vastly different races blended seamlessly, Maya was immersed in a vibrant mix of traditions, music, and life experiences that have profoundly shaped both her personality and career. Being biracial has always felt like a natural part of her life. Maya has shared that, as a child, race wasn't something she often thought about because her home was filled with love and creativity. It wasn't until later that she began to understand the world's more rigid views on race. She has spoken candidly about the difficulty of fitting into a society that often categorizes people based on appearances. However, Maya has never shied away from embracing both sides of her heritage, finding strength in the rich blend of cultures that define her. In her comedy and acting, she frequently draws from her own life, finding a unique perspective in her biracial upbringing. This experience continues to influence her work and her personal worldview. For Maya, race is not just a topic for interviews, it is a lens through which she views the world every single day, shaping how she sees herself and her place in it. Number 7. Troian Bellisario. Troian Bellisario's story is a fascinating blend of cultures and backgrounds. Her mother's roots trace back to both African American and Creole heritage, while her father hails from European descent. At first glance, you might not notice the rich cultural history that defines her. In fact, many are taken aback when they learn about her African American background, as her appearance doesn't always match the typical image people associate with it. Growing up, Troyan navigated life between two worlds, with a family history that spans continents, races, and traditions. Her mixed heritage has shaped her understanding of identity in ways that most can't fully grasp. Yet, despite its significance, she rarely brings it into the public eye. Instead, she channels her energy into her career, letting her background subtly inform her approach to both her roles and her personal life. This silence doesn't signify a detachment from her roots. On the contrary, it speaks to her quiet confidence in who she is, without feeling the need to constantly justify or define herself. In interviews, she shared that her biracial identity gives her a unique sense of balance, helping her connect with people from all walks of life. While her African American and Creole heritage might not be immediately obvious to the outside world, it's undeniably woven into the fabric of her being. It's likely shaped the way she views life, offering her a perspective that's wider and more inclusive than most. Now, imagine Holly facing a profound realization about her own identity, one that no one saw coming. What unfolds next is sure to leave you in awe. Number 8. Cash Warren. Cash Warren's family background holds surprises for many. While he's often recognized as the husband of a famous actress, his roots run deep within the African American community. His father, Michael Warren, a respected actor and former basketball player, has always identified as black. Despite this, Cash rarely speaks about his race in public, and many people might not immediately realize his African American heritage when they meet him. Raised in a mixed-race household, Cash was exposed to a rich blend of cultures and experiences. His father's success in both sports and acting meant that Cash grew up surrounded by people from diverse backgrounds. This environment fostered in him a deep appreciation for diversity and a strong understanding of the importance of embracing differences. In interviews, Cash has spoken about how his father's experiences as a black man in America profoundly influenced the way he views the world today. For Cash, being part African American is undeniably a significant part of his identity, but it doesn't define him completely. He cherishes his heritage and the invaluable lessons his father imparted, but he also recognizes that there's much more to who he is. Number 9. Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle's racial identity became a focal point of public discussion when she married into the British royal family. Before that, many didn't realize she was biracial. Her mother, Doria Ragland, is African American, and her father is white. Growing up in a mixed-race family, Meghan gained a unique perspective on race and identity, something she has become more open about in recent years. As a child, Meghan often found herself caught between two worlds. She shared how people would sometimes struggle to categorize her, unsure of how to place her racially. This experience is all too familiar for many biracial individuals who don't fit neatly into a single category. Over time, Meghan learned to embrace both sides of her heritage, understanding that her biracial identity is a vital part of who she is. When Meghan stepped into the public eye, particularly after her royal wedding, discussions about race intensified. Meghan has been candid about the challenges of navigating life as a biracial woman, especially in the intense spotlight of such a high-profile role. Number 10. Halsey. Halsey has always been open about her biracial background. Her father is black, and her mother is white. Despite her light skin, which often leads people to assume she is fully white, she has been candid about the complicated emotions this has stirred within her. In numerous interviews, Halsey has discussed how her appearance allows her to sidestep certain forms of racism, but it also creates a sense of disconnect from her black identity. She has faced situations where others dismiss her blackness simply because of how she looks. However, Halsey is clear in acknowledging the challenges of being visibly black. She has spoken openly about the difficulties, but she's also aware that her experiences are not the same as those who face racial violence daily. She recognizes the privilege that comes with her appearance, but has never downplayed the pain of not fully connecting with her black heritage. Halsey has also shared the emotional complexities within her family. She says that some of her relatives feel guilty about her ability to pass as white, knowing that her appearance has given her certain advantages. At the same time, she wishes she could have had a stronger connection to her black culture. During the Black Lives Matter protests, she faced criticism for not speaking out enough about her black race. Halsey responded thoughtfully, explaining that while she deeply feels the pain of racial injustice, she understands that her light skin shields her from the worst of it. She believes it would be wrong to speak in terms of we when it comes to racial violence, as her own experiences don't put her in the same danger as others. Halsey has also opened up about the struggles her younger brother has faced. Darker than she is, he endured bullying at school, with kids making jokes about his skin color, a confusing experience for him, as he doesn't fully identify as either black or white. Number 11. Carol Channing. Carol Channing's life is filled with surprising twists, especially when it comes to her heritage. Despite being known for her bright blonde hair and fair skin, this legendary Broadway star had African roots, something she kept hidden for much of her life and career. It wasn't until later on that she began to speak openly about her background. At just 16, her mother revealed to her that her father was part black. This was news to Channing, but rather than feeling fear or confusion, she felt a sense of pride. She said it gave her strength and confidence, helping her perform with the boldness she was known for. However, she didn't share this information publicly for a long time. Channing knew that revealing her African-American heritage could potentially limit the roles she would be offered. Back then, a black background, no matter how talented the person, was often seen as a barrier to success on Broadway or in Hollywood. Channing didn't want to be defined by her race. She wanted to be recognized for her acting and singing, so she made the difficult decision to pass as white, choosing to protect her career over her personal truth. For many years, this meant living with a secret, but Channing believed it was the best path for her success. She went on to become a beloved figure for her role in Hello, Dolly, and many other performances. Throughout her career, she worked with icons like Louis Armstrong, and her influence stretched beyond the stage. She even joined Armstrong in supporting political campaigns, showing that she was more than just a performer. She was someone who cared deeply about the world around her. As Channing grew older, she became more open about her identity. But what happens when a similar journey of embracing one's black and Mexican heritage takes a turn no one expects? Number 12. Carmen Ejogo. Carmen Ejogo is a British actress with a rich, diverse heritage, born to a Nigerian father and a Scottish mother. Despite her light skin and European features, which might confuse some, she is fiercely proud of her African roots. Her father's Nigerian background is a central part of her identity, yet being biracial has presented unique challenges, especially in the entertainment industry. Carmen began her acting career at a young age. At just 12, she starred alongside David Bowie in Absolute Beginners and later hosted a Disney Channel show. In her 20s, she moved to the United States and appeared in films such as Metro and Boycott, where she portrayed Coretta Scott King. She also reprised this role in the critically acclaimed film Selma, marking a major milestone in her career. Despite her successes, Carmen faced significant hurdles in the industry. She has spoken about how Hollywood wasn't ready for someone who looked like her. Being biracial and a woman of color made it challenging for her to find leading roles. Hollywood often placed limits on her career because of her race, with many roles in romantic comedies and period dramas simply not available to her. However, she eventually found her place in genre films, carving out a path in a space that was more open to diversity. Carmen has shared the struggles she faced, including dealing with comments about her appearance. She recalled how directors sometimes doubted whether she looked Spanish enough for certain roles or didn't know how to handle her curly hair. Yet she has used these moments as fuel, shaping her journey in a way that strengthened her resolve. Now, in her 40s, Carmen feels more empowered than ever. She's proud to be a biracial woman working in Hollywood and believes that the industry is slowly becoming more inclusive. Studios are beginning to recognize the value of diverse talent, and she is determined to be part of that change. Carmen has also expressed a desire to return to the UK to explore her cultural roots through her art, continuing to choose roles that challenge and inspire her. For Carmen, acting has always been about stepping into different experiences, and she is committed to pushing boundaries and expanding representation in the industry. Number 13, Slash. Slash grew up immersed in a world of art, fashion, and music. His mother was a black fashion designer, and his father was a white artist, giving him a unique blend of cultures that shaped his perspective. Although Slash's biracial identity was always a part of him, he didn't often talk about it. He didn't feel the need to label himself or fit into any predefined categories. He was simply Slash, the guitarist who loved music. For him, music was both an escape and a passion. As a young boy, Slash didn't think much about race. He was more focused on learning the guitar and honing his craft. He loved rock music, but also had a deep appreciation for the blues, a genre rooted in black culture. He didn't separate his life into different boxes based on his background. Instead, he let his love for music guide him, never worrying about labels or expectations. When he became a member of Guns N' Roses, Slash found fame and success. The band dominated the rock scene, and Slash became iconic for his powerful guitar riffs and signature top hat. But beyond his guitar skills, Slash represented a symbol of rebellion, blending various styles and defying traditional rock conventions. His biracial heritage may have influenced how he viewed the world, but it didn't define him. He never felt the need to explain himself or prove anything to others. However, Slash couldn't always avoid conversations about race. One of Guns N' Roses' songs, "One in a Million," caused controversy due to its offensive language. The song included slurs that upset many listeners. Decades later, when the band reissued their album, they decided to leave the song out. Slash supported this decision, recognizing that times had changed and the song's language no longer aligned with the band's values. For him, it was about evolving with the times, ensuring that their music reflected who they were in the present. Number 14, The Rock. Dwayne Johnson, better known as The Rock, began his career in professional wrestling following in the footsteps of his father, Rocky Johnson, who was a pioneering figure in the WWE and one of the first black champions. Dwayne quickly became a household name in wrestling, bringing unmatched energy and charisma to the ring that helped him stand out from his peers. His popularity soared even higher when he transitioned into acting, with major hits like Fast and Furious, Jumanji, and Red Notice solidifying his status as a global star. His appeal is broad, partly due to his rich cultural background, which includes African Canadian and Samoan heritage. Dwayne's father hailed from Nova Scotia, Canada, and was part of the Black Nova Scotian community, descendants of Black loyalists and freed slaves who settled in the region after the American Revolution. This connection links Dwayne to a long history of African Americans who migrated to Canada seeking freedom and opportunity. His father's side has had a profound impact on shaping who he is today. On his mother's side, Dwayne has strong Samoan roots. His mother, Ada Johnson, comes from a family deeply tied to Samoan traditions and values, known for their strong sense of community and cultural pride. Dwayne has always embraced his Samoan heritage, frequently honoring it in public, as seen in a viral clip where he pays tribute to his roots. Number 15. Tessa Thompson. Tessa Thompson is a celebrated actress known for her roles in hit shows like Westworld and films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Her career has taken her to great heights in Hollywood, but her journey hasn't been without challenges. Born to an Afro-Panamanian father and a Mexican mother, Tessa grew up navigating life as a biracial woman in America, which often came with its own complexities. Tessa's father, who was Afro-Panamanian, had a significant influence on her understanding of her black identity. However, it was her mother, despite not being black, who played a crucial role in helping Tessa embrace her blackness. Her mother's own father was of Mexican descent and worked as a performer at a time when there were few people of color in the industry. He pushed her mother to fit into mainstream society, even forbidding her from speaking Spanish at home. This pressure to assimilate shaped how Tessa's mother viewed the world, but she still made it a priority to teach Tessa to be proud of her identity as a black woman. Tessa's mother encouraged her to embrace her broad features and brown skin, especially when classmates tried to make her feel different. When Tessa's mother initially took her to a beauty store to buy a relaxer for her hair, she later fully supported Tessa's decision to keep her natural curls, fostering a deep sense of pride in her heritage. Tessa has spoken about how her upbringing allowed her to connect with multiple cultures, feeling a deep appreciation for both her black and Mexican backgrounds. Yet in Hollywood, Tessa has often found herself grappling with the complexities of racial identity, where she has had to navigate both her black and Mexican roots. She's expressed that the freedom to explore her identity, something her mother gave her, has been one of the greatest gifts of her life. This freedom has shaped not just her career, but her personal journey as well. But what happens when Aubrey Plaza faces a similar struggle in an industry that often misreads her identity? There's more to this story than meets the eye. Number 16. Jessica Soar. Jessica Soar, best known for her role as Vanessa in Gossip Girl, is often assumed to be of purely European descent, but her heritage is much more complex. Her mother is African American, and Jessica has openly discussed the challenges of being biracial in Hollywood. Her appearance often leads to her being cast in racially ambiguous roles, which has presented both opportunities and difficulties throughout her career. Growing up, Jessica always knew her race made her stand out, and she has shared in interviews that she sometimes felt as though she didn't fully fit into any one category. In the entertainment industry, where people are often placed into specific racial boxes based on how they look, Jessica's experience has been one of navigating roles that don't always reflect her true background. While she may look one way, her heritage tells a completely different story. Jessica has spoken candidly about how Hollywood struggles to understand biracial identities. Instead of being cast in roles that accurately represent her African American background, she is often given roles that could be played by any race. While this flexibility in casting has provided career opportunities, it also means Jessica doesn't always have the chance to authentically portray her black heritage. This lack of representation has been frustrating for her, as her background is an integral part of who she is. Despite these challenges, Jessica has found success in Hollywood. Her breakthrough role as Vanessa on Gossip Girl gave her the opportunity to showcase her talent to a broader audience. Since then, she's appeared in various television shows and movies, but the issue of race in casting continues to surface in her career. As she moves forward, she hopes to land more roles that truly reflect her biracial identity. Determined to embrace every part of who she is, Jessica remains proud of her diverse heritage. While being biracial brings its own unique set of experiences, she is committed to representing both sides of her identity. She hopes to see more diversity in Hollywood and believes the industry must continue to open up to more actors with mixed backgrounds. For Jessica, the journey hasn't always been smooth. but she remains resolute in staying true to herself with every role she takes on. Number 17. Aubrey Plaza. Aubrey Plaza, known for her quirky humor and standout role in Parks and Recreation, is often assumed to be of purely Caucasian descent due to her fair skin. However, Aubrey's heritage is far more complex. She has Puerto Rican roots from her father's side and African ancestry as well. While her appearance may not immediately suggest it, Aubrey has openly discussed the personal and professional challenges of growing up biracial, especially when people often mistake her for just being white. Raised in a household that blended cultures, Aubrey's father is Puerto Rican and her mother has Irish roots. Her upbringing included influences from both sides of her family, but as she has shared, her lighter skin often made her feel disconnected from her Latino heritage. She won several diversity awards in her younger years, but always felt uneasy about it, unsure if she could fully claim her heritage, especially since many around her didn't think she looked like what they expected a Latina to look like. In interviews, Aubrey has talked about how the entertainment industry often reduces people to narrow, one-dimensional stereotypes based on their appearance. Because of her light skin, she's been cast in roles that don't reflect her full identity. For instance, in the To-Do List, her character's background was portrayed as white, a decision that didn't align with her own heritage. The privilege that comes with being light-skinned has made her journey more complicated. As she has pointed out, while her fair complexion has opened doors for her in Hollywood, it doesn't diminish her connection to her Puerto Rican and African roots. But what happens when Nicollet Robinson, shaped by two powerful cultures, faces a turning point that challenges everything she stands for? That's a story that's waiting to unfold, one that could change her entire perspective on identity and the world around her. Number 18. Tiga. Tiga, a rapper with a unique cultural background, combines both African American and Vietnamese heritage. His mother is of Vietnamese descent, and his father is African American. This mix of cultures has played a significant role in shaping his identity. However, many people often focus primarily on his Asian roots, overlooking the African American side of his background. Tiga himself has addressed this issue in interviews, proudly expressing his pride in both parts of his heritage. Growing up in California, Tiga was constantly aware of his racial background. While some might assume he is primarily of Vietnamese descent due to his appearance, he has always emphasized that he embraces both sides of his race. He recognizes how people may be quick to label him based on certain cultural or physical features, but he refuses to let these assumptions define who he is, especially in his career as a rapper. Tiga's rise to fame began in the mid-2000s, when he garnered attention for his distinctive style and lyrics. His career took off with a string of hit singles and collaborations with some of the biggest names in the music industry, helping him establish a solid reputation in the music scene. Despite the challenges of navigating multiple cultural identities, Tiga continues to celebrate his heritage and use it as a source of inspiration in his work. Number 19. Heather Locklear. Many people may not know that Heather Locklear has both Native American and African American ancestry, a part of her heritage that has shaped her family's history in ways that aren't always recognized. While her African American background may not be widely acknowledged, it plays an important role in her family's story. Although Locklear sounds like a typical Anglo-Saxon surname, it actually has Native American roots. The name comes from the Tuscarora language, where it means hold fast, hinting at Native American ties, particularly on her father's side. Heather's Lair family is part of the Lumbee Nation, a Native American group from Robeson County, North Carolina. The Lumbee are the largest community of what are called triracial isolates, communities with a mix of European, Native American, and African American ancestry. For generations, the Lumbee and similar communities have intermarried within their own groups, creating distinct cultural identities. Today, the Lumbee population is around 40,000, though many members identify as 100% Native American, even as their heritage includes these other racial backgrounds. The Lumbee are not alone in this rich, mixed heritage identity. Other tri-racial isolate groups exist across the U.S., like the Munjan people from Tennessee, the Redbones, Brass Ankles, and Turk populations in the Carolinas. While these communities have complex, mixed ancestry, many members identify with just one ethnic background, often overlooking their multi-ethnic roots. The term isolates was coined in the late 19th and early 20th centuries when racial laws limited the mixing of ethnic groups. Despite these restrictive laws, many people continued to marry within their communities, forming tight-knit groups with unique cultural identities. These layered, intertwined heritages continue to shape the identities of individuals like Heather Locklear as they navigate the complex intersections of race and identity today. Number 20. Nicollet Robinson. Nicollet Robinson comes from a rich and unique background that combines African American and Ashkenazi Jewish heritage. This diverse cultural legacy has had a profound impact on shaping her identity and career. Raised in Los Angeles by her white Jewish mother and black non-Jewish father, Nicollet's upbringing was marked by a blend of both cultures. Her parents made it a priority to ensure she felt proud of both sides of her background, celebrating both Christian and Jewish holidays in their home. Nicollet has often shared how grateful she is to have been exposed to such a wide range of cultural traditions. This duality allowed her to embrace her full identity and has shaped the way she navigates the world, both personally and professionally. Her experiences as a black Jewish woman have influenced the roles she has chosen in her acting career, particularly those that cross racial, cultural, and religious boundaries. This perspective has given her a broader understanding of the world and has allowed her to connect deeply with her characters, no matter the context. Beyond her acting career, Nicollet is also a talented singer. One notable moment in her career was when she and her husband, Leslie Odom Jr., covered the Hanukkah song by Adam Sandler, an iconic piece that celebrates Jewish culture in a fun and heartfelt way. This moment not only highlighted Nicollet's Jewish heritage, but also demonstrated her ability to blend her cultural identities in her professional life, creating meaningful and resonant performances. That wraps up today's episode. We hope you enjoyed hearing about these incredible individuals and their unique journeys of embracing their mixed heritage. Who do you like most? Leave your thoughts in the comment below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks for tuning in.